Hey guys, just starting the process of doing an AJE Colt65 suspension on a 68 Cougar back there, and going to show you a few things along the way to help you out because there's no real install videos out there. So here we go. I will start with just showing you what the AJE suspension looks like laying on the floor, and I've already started getting apart some of the front suspension, and we'll go from there. So as you see, there's the AJE Colt65 suspension with the coilovers, A-arms there, and there we got a 92 Fox body rack and pinion, power rack and pinion. This is the close ratio one that came on the Cobra, and also we have the AJE, what do you want to call them, ball joints. Alright, so now we'll go over to the car and show you. There's the car on the hoist, which really helps in this type of project. So we'll go under the car and we'll show you what we started to do. So as you can see, this had a Granada disc brake swap that someone did at one time from a manual drum car, and so these are obviously going to come off. These are actually pretty new and have barely any miles on them. But what we did is we went up top in the engine bay and we took off the cross brace and all that as well, so we could undo the tops of the shocks, and then undid the shocks from this point right here. And as you can see, whoever had this car before I bought it redid the whole front suspension. Everything's pretty new actually. All the ball joints were new. You know, the upper A-arms are pretty new if you look at them. A little dusty because we've been doing a lot of body work on this car before getting to this point. As you can see, we sort of started, got to finish, but the hoist came free for a couple of weeks, so we thought we'd tackle this now. Anyway, so besides taking apart everything up top, we then proceeded to undo everything here. The upper A-arms, still leaving that on for now, just to hang these until I can get another pan for draining the brake fluid and everything out of the line before I let that go. And disconnected the strut rods, and then obviously we took out the lower arm there, which was pretty easy. That came out pretty easy with a, you know, we turned the castle nut upside down just like we did on the upper A-arm, so that way we could give it a quick bang with a hammer and she popped right down pretty easy. Sometimes you'll have to use a ball joint spreader, which we'll probably have to do on the uppers, because I did try giving them a good whack with a hammer and they didn't really move, which is quite typical for the uppers compared to the lowers on these cars, or on most cars in general. So we then proceeded to take off the old steering. Now, as you can see, everything was redone on that as well. Overall, the steering was pretty good, but I did have a consistent leak somewhere that I kept trying to fix. And I actually found the problem as I was taking it apart. Someone decided to, it looks like there was a line cut. I know it's kind of hard to see, it's dark. I just tucked the lines up here so they don't drip for now overnight. But they decided to cut the return line and clamp it on with a regular hose clamp, which is a little ridiculous. Don't know why they did that, but what we ended up doing is just undoing the clamp and draining all the oil instead of doing it through the bleeder. It was a lot easier. And then what you do to try and get the rest of the oil out of the system as well is you then push this into the ram, and then that forces all the rest of the oil out of the system. which you can see is in the pan there. So anyways, so then what we did was we undid the bolts here, and as well on the other side of the frame rail, you can see right there, and that is this side here. As you can see, that side of the old steering, so that's set up there of the ram. So we took that out, then proceeded to undo again the castle nut on the box, the steering box. And then on the opposite side of the frame, on the passenger side, you got these two bolts here, and as you can see on the reverse side here, there's kind of hard to see, but there's a hole here on the opposite side, two of them, and this is the arm right here. As you can see, it's that one. That's what that one looks like. All right, so next off, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these off. They're on there pretty good. Gonna have to spray them with some WD-40. They have been off at one time, and the bushings replaced not too long ago. As you can see, that's just overspray from some undercoating that was done at one time in a couple of areas of the car. But anyway, so you take a wrench, you put it on the back side, as you can see there, and then spray this good with some WD-40 or some sort of anti-seize, anti-rust spray, and then work it back and forth a little bit, and you should be able to get that off. You can get a long socket. They do an extra long socket that will fit this and make it a little bit easier for you. So once we get those two off, like I say, if you don't put a wrench on the opposite side, these will just spin now because they're being disconnected from the bottom there, which was sort of stupid. I should have left those on because that would have helped, and then all I would have needed to do is undo this one and not worry about putting another wrench on this side to stop it from spinning. But so next we take those off. Once we get those off, then we'll proceed to bang off or use a spreader bar or whatever to get that one out, so we can take this whole caliper, spindle, everything off in one shot. And if someone's interested in buying those, and like I say, the pads are basically brand new. The brakes and everything were done on the car, and the car sat, and I think I drove it probably in total a week on those brakes. They did work pretty good. Did find I had to pump the brakes a little bit still, which I think that was maybe an incorrect master cylinder bore. So, but we do have a Wilwood master cylinder, the proper one, which will give us, I think it's a 5/8 or 7/8 or a 1 millimeter, I think it is, from what I can remember. Anyways, we got that, which will go good with the 2004 Cobra for 14-inch or 13-inch brakes and spindles, discs, and calipers. And then once we do that, then we'll proceed to use a spring compressor. Be very, very careful doing these. You don't want to have those pop off and smack you in the face. It can result in death or serious injury. So once we take those off, we get the spindle off, then we'll proceed to take off the upper A-arm. And from there, then we'll go on to the other side, and then we'll show you that when we're done here. So let's get going on this.